Hello. Hey guys, welcome to another stream, another video. Let me just get the chat up here. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Sounds perfectly fine. Sounds good. Okay, different setup today. We're not tabletop down. Have a look at some of the work that I've been doing recently. Bubba, good to see you. How are you doing? I was very impressed with your table setup this week, by the way. Looks like you got yourself nicely sorted and on to level 10. Fantastic. Well enough. Good. That's all we can hope for. No problem, my friend. Yeah. So, going to do a little bit of discussion about, hey Mark, what I've been doing this week and the progress I've been making. And then we're going to have a look at creating a Fabled weapon and Mythical armour, and how the system that I've kind of put in place for that. So that involves looking at some tables, some rules, having a look at the new sheet, which is part of the character sheet, if you like. And I also put up here a little picture of the Mystic Thicket, which we ran through on the last 2 streams. So if you're looking at that now and you're curious as to what that Mystic Thicket is, then you can check back on the previous videos and have a look at that. That was a fun little adventure. Some funny little twists and turns in that one, even if it was just 4 rooms. So that's cool. How are you doing, Mark? I have to admit, I'm in a little bit of... I've got some more neck pain coming in. The temperature's taken a bit of a duck here, which is really annoying. So, should be up sort of between 12 and 15. Maybe even getting up to 20, and I've kind of lulled my full self into full sense of security, and I was wearing a t-shirt and I got a cold on my back. So there's a whinge in the first 5 minutes of the stream. So if I grimace every now and again, you know why. I take stuff for it, but it doesn't really do much. That's a bit of a pain in the arse. So I've been working hard on tables today. We will have to make 2d6 cyborg so you can get a neck implant. A neck warmer implant. Yeah, I know. Oh, God damn it. It's partly because I'm sort of hunched over the computer a lot. I try and get good posture. They always talk about it, sort of legs lower down and back upright. Try and do that, but you know, if I get cold, then that's not good. I'm just not good with the cold weather. I should have lived in Australia or Miami or something like that, where it's nice and warm. What part of America do you live in, Bubba? Is it America or Canada? I can't remember. Hot part. Canada West Coast, I thought it was. Canada West Coast. So that's not the French side, is it? Not that cold. Super wet all the time. Yeah, we're wet. It's damp and rainy here. I mean, the UK is famous for being wet, isn't it? Rainy. Vancouver. No. Right. Yeah, so Daniel, how you doing? Hi guys, here for a short while as it's late here, though warm here in Spain. Oh, yes, you're probably on the same, probably 10 o'clock there, isn't it? I think you're all around about the same. John Ross, hey John, good to see you. It's 18 degrees here in Brisbane. Yeah, no need to rub it in. British people often compare Vancouver to the British Isle. Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Just after 11. Hour ahead of you at the moment. Right. So we've gone forward. So would you normally be 2 hours ahead? So we went forward for spring forward, as they say. And so, yeah, that's yeah. So we're an hour closer. Paul, good to see you. How are you doing? Whereabouts are you based, Paul? Just doing a little bit of an intro. If you're watching the YouTube video, it's probably we'll get going on the stuff soon. It's nice to have a bit of a warm up though. Matthew, good to see you, Matthew. Good evening. Trying to get a decent connection. I'm on a ship off the coast of Nigeria. Fantastic. The internet is pretty poor. I'll stay connected as long as I can. Matthew, thank you for being here. Wow. Off the coast of Nigeria. Nice. We spent some time in Mombasa. Is that in Nigeria? Or Kenya? No, it's Kenya. We were in Kenya. Goes forward here too, though, not in sync. Okay. Are you an expat over there, Daniel, or are you a Spanish-born chap? Paul, I'm good, thanks. Hope things are good with you. I've got a bit of neck pain, but otherwise, yeah. No, I've been making some fantastic progress with the game, which we'll go over a little bit soon. We'll get started once we've got a few folks in, and yeah, no, really pleased. I really feel like I can be able to release this now tomorrow or Saturday, maybe even Sunday, to the testers. Hopefully tomorrow. That's my aim. Going to try and get it done for tomorrow, and then we're going to shoot it off to the 30 people, something like that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, people still have enough interest to sort of just give enough time over to really kind of go through, because actually the rules have expanded out to 60,000 words, which is equivalent to like a small novel. So I'm going to have to, we're going to see. But that does include the tables. So if you think, the codex is quite thick. So that is kind of almost like, that was like writing a small novel. So it's no surprise. It was always going to be about 200 to 500 pages. Sorry, no, 200 to 250 pages. And so we'll see. But hopefully it doesn't get too much bigger than that. Paul, I'm good, thanks. Hope things are, yep. One Geek Forever, how are you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Paul, based in Lincolnshire, currently in Kent, visiting family. Lincolnshire to Kent. Now that is a change of environment. Lincolnshire, I know pretty well. Boston and those sorts of areas, and very flat, down to Kent. Is it Kent they call the Garden of England? Very beautiful. Stuz, good to see you. I made it again. I'm glad you made it again, my friend. Good to see you. Visiting my parents, removed my surname from YouTube. Daniel G. Weird. Does that happen for everything when you visit your parents? So suddenly your driving license, there's no surname. When you log on to other websites, your surname's gone. They've disowned you. Your parents you come home, they disown you, they take your surname away. Alex, bonjour. And now, Alex, does that mean, Alex Danner, does that mean you're in France or Belgium or French Canada? French Canada? Yeah, one of those. Or, whereabouts? Or somewhere in Africa? They speak lots of French. I'm French from Paris. Ah, fantastic. I been to Paris a few times. Obviously, being an artist, I love going to the galleries there. But just love the vibe in Paris. I've always really enjoyed it there. Brian, good to see you. Good to see you, Brian. Thanks for. I think it was it you, Brian, or was it Steve, putting some nice comments on the Facebook page? Might have been. You two are stalwarts. I'm trying to get you a bit confused with the handles. Kirill Red 30k. Evening, love a live stream. Well, I love the fact you're here. Thank you for coming in. Daniel, no, just decided to remove it. Oh. No, you just... Oh. I see. Okay. Is that... So you kind of... You're incognito? Is that like... kind of like... Any particular... Alex, Paris is not for everyone. A lot of people don't like it, and I can understand. Oh. I feel a little bit nervous in some parts of Paris when I'm going around, just a little bit. And people, when often, I've had a few bad reactions to being English in Paris, but I kind of just shrug it off. It's like that lots of places I go. I'm quite well travelled, although not as well travelled as I'd like to be honest. My wife and I, we love travelling. So we have booked in a holiday in Greece for a week during the summer holidays. In fact, it's 10 days. So we're going to Greece, and we're going to pop away for a weekend to Edinburgh take my mum up to Edinburgh, which is, so we've kind of been sitting down planning some summer holiday stuff. I think it's more against visitors than English. Aha. Well, that could be it. You could be right. I'm just sort of looking at it from my own point of view. Clive! Come visit here in Cape Town, Toby. Up in the mountains. Yeah, I'm sure Clive won't mind me saying, but he was rather bragging to me on his email earlier on about how he's got a month off. Nice one, Clive. Clive's a big backer here. We love him. Yeah, it's I think at this point you've got to beginning of the year, you've got to start assessing, am I going to have some time? Am I going to visit some places? Well, of course, I mean, we would love to come to America. That's kind of on, it's on the list. Either it might be just a couple of days this year, or we'll do a slightly longer period next year and get Gen Con in the equation. So I've said this before. I said it last time. Somehow it always comes up. But yeah, no, we're I'd love to come to Cape Town. There's something about South Africa that slightly intimidates me, I have to admit. I think that maybe that's just misconceptions on my part, that there's a certain I don't know, I had to say it without being offensive. There's a certain risk in certain areas if you don't know where you're going. Come to sunny Northampton, Mark. Well, I'm in Cambridgeshire. Sometimes we went to Northampton to get my daughter's ballet shoes fitted. There's quite a good ballet shoe shop there. Would welcome you here in Texas. No risk here, lol. Copper mutants. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I have thought about Texas, but is that not? Is that the one where? Is that the state where you can carry a gun openly in public? Is that the case? You don't miss much. Vincent, good to see you. Welcome in. Blue-eyed geek. Big iron on my hip. Yeah. What is it? Big iron? What does that mean? I've never heard that term before. Dwayne, how are you doing? Hi, Toby. Have come in late due to Australia time zones. How are you? Any word on the co-op rules? There is. They're not done. Not yet. I'm still mulling over that one. Well, put it this way. I've been rather mulling over the main rules the last couple of weeks intensely. And the multi rules will slot into those rules once I've confirmed the main rules in 2d6 realm. I've just sort of decided, and I think I've had some good suggestions that will be that will come into play. But I will. It is definitely something I want to do, and it's going to happen for this 2d6 realm. So it's going to be there. Oh God, I love Australia, Dwayne. Whereabouts in Australia are you, my friend? Alex says Rad Zone Totally's style. Haha. Fantastic. Any reference to Rad Zone Totality, throw it in there. That's a song. Oh, I see. The guns, is that what you're referring to, Alex? Mark says that's a song. Is that the big iron on my hip? Oh, is that a song? Oh. Obviously that references the gun on your hip. But I personally talked about a gun. Now I personally find, I don't know, I've never been around guns, so I don't know how. I know this sounds probably silly to a lot of Americans, I don't know, but when we see guns, like when we went to the Paris Disneyland, and on the stations there they had some police with machine guns. Now occasionally you see it in England, but with little submachine guns, and I was like, I felt I was quite shocked because we rarely see guns, and I know that sounds weird, but you can find on YouTube. Yes, okay. Dwayne says, "Sweet, my son wants to play with me rather than have his own hero." Yeah, he wants to play with me rather than have his own hero. I'm from western suburbs of Melbourne in Victoria. Now, I love Melbourne. I spent a little bit of time there. Went to the zoo. I love the facades and the old buildings in Melbourne. It's quite a different feel than obviously many places in Australia. Really, yeah. I'd love to go there again. Although the weather gets a little bit colder in the winter, doesn't it? Copper Mutant, Marty Robbins, Big Iron on the Fallout New Vegas playlist. Also, yeah, I've been watching Fallout. People been watching Fallout because it is. I think, did we finish it? I think, yeah, we finished it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The lead girl in it, she's a bit annoying, but I guess her character is meant to be annoying because she's always kind of looking on the bright side of life, which people find quite annoying in me, actually. But yeah, and some of that retro music, 50s kind of music they play, I was quite enjoying that, actually. And there's that whole posh English voice, and now we're going to do this and that sort of thing. Some people say I talk like that normally anyway. She's naive, you're right. I have only up to E4 so far. Episode 4. Okay, it's definitely worth sticking with it. The thing that most the two lead characters, the girl and the bloke, I find quite kind of. The bloke's completely emotionless because he's kind of naive, isn't he, in his own little world. But I just don't like the way he's portrayed. Sometimes I just want to talk. I just want to shake him and talk. And she's learning some hard lessons. I'd love to see some of these hard lessons she's learning come through in her character. So hopefully that will be the case. Watched a TV show twice through. Played the miniatures game for a few years. And OFC the computer games. Yes. Kira. Kirill. How would you like me to say your name? Kirill? Is it Kira? Stuz I. If you prefer Texas without guns, there's one southwest of the Gold Coast in Queensland. True. There's one southwest of the Gold Coast in Queensland. Well, I used to live in the Gold Coast in Queensland. And do you mean which part of Australia are you referring to? Stuz. Because I used to study in Toowoomba at the university there, and then we lived in the Gold Coast. I still play them on PC, Mark says. Kirill, please. Okay, Kirill. Got you. Kirill. Nice work. Good stuff. Right. Okay, fantastic. So let's have a little look at what I've been doing. So quickly cover this here. Just so anybody coming in, this is the Mystic Thicket. This was what we were looking at in the last two streams. I just wanted to mention it quickly. Just don't go to Wolf Creek. Good question. Good point. Rylus Games. Hello, bought all the 2d6 dungeon stuff recently and loving it. Wish I knew about all this earlier when Realms was on Kickstarter. Rylus, thank you, my friend. Well, this is the beginning of the journey, really. It's only been going for a year. And we've got the legendary dungeon planned later in the year, and then we're going to be doing a sci-fi version Void 2d6 Void next year. So we've got lots of content coming. So you'll have plenty of opportunity, Rylus, to get in on it, so to speak. Stuz, south of Toowoomba is a small town called Texas. I didn't know that. Good work, Stuz. Have you been there? Right. So if you're interested in a little adventure, that is the last two streams we've been covering the Mystic Thicket, which is a mini lair in 2d6 Realm, and there's a number of mini lairs that will be available for you to explore and get loot and then build up your realm. So that is there. Okay. Secondly, Rylus, thank you. That's much appreciated, my friend. So, we are going to be talking about an element to the game that I have kind of resolved, and it's taken me a while to sort of figure out how I want to do it and how detailed I want to go. Part of the thing is with this, I've talked about this before. With an overland crawler, you don't have the same goals or targets as you do, say, with exploring a dungeon. And you have levels in a dungeon, and they're your targets. Get to the end of the level, fight a boss maybe, but with a overland crawler, what are your aims your your aims and your goals? Well, I kind of figured I linked it in with Legendary Dungeon. So you've got your 2d6 dungeon, your 2d6 realm. They kind of work nicely together, but ultimately you can build your character up to a position. He's already become experienced enough. He can work his way up to a legend, but Can he get something that is like a legendary fabled weapon and a mythical armor that will make him strong enough to fight the legendary creatures in the legendary dungeon, which is coming later in the year? And it's kind of like a target. How's this going to fit into the system? And I've had to sort of work this around. I've always had a good idea in my mind about how it will work, but how does it translate? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of roughly how this works. I'm not going to go into too much detail because that can be a little bit tedious on a stream, and you'll get a chance to read this in the main book, and it's going to go to testers soon to have a look at, hopefully tomorrow. But it's something that it will build. So let's just have a look at the text here. I'll just send this picture back here. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, so I've just taken a chunk of text out of the main document, and I know it's just like a wall of text, so that you don't have to try and read this. And to be honest, this is just a working document, so don't look at this and take it as sacrosanct. This could change. There may be spelling mistakes. You don't have to point them out. That would probably only distract me to a certain extent. But so working on your mythical armor. So within your kingdom, within your realm, I should say, you can build buildings, and two of those buildings are the Armourer's Workshop and the Weaponsmith's Hall. Okay, so those you need certain resources, you need certain materials available to be able to do that. I'm not going to go into that here. That's part of the building buildings. We just assume that we have those particular buildings. So it involves a number of stages, right? Each one you have a forge sheet. Well, that's going to change. Specialist element sheet. So that is also going to change. That wording there is incorrect. So I haven't gone over that bit. That's a good start. Often the top bit is the bit you're going to do the most revision on. For the weapon, you will create unique maneuvers, and for your armor, you enhance each piece with strengthening and magical properties. This will elevate both beyond standard equipment. Only legends, level 10 characters, can use such weapons. Okay. Jeff, good to see you, my friend. A little late for me, but I made it. Good to see you. Good to see you too, my friend. Right, we're just going over the fabled weapon and the legendary mythical armor. Okay. So we've got a sheet which we'll have a look at, and you'll need this particular sheet to manage the progress of these two particular items in game. And so the Weaponsmith's Hall you will need to create your fabled weapon. This is a separate weapon, and you cannot use it. It replaces your normal weapon once you enter into the Brett, good to see you. No problem. You're here, man. We've done a bit of an intro, catching up with people, having a bit of a chat, and now we're kind of into the kind of the nitty gritty, having a look at fabled weapons and mythical armor. Is a mythical armor a full 3-piece set or a one item? Stars, that is a great question. We will come to that. That will be answered. Do not worry. So you can pick any type of weapon. So you don't have to be a great axe, a longsword, or heavy mace. You could use a morning star or a staff, but it needs to be something solid, okay, and not a ranged weapon. And now the multiplayer rules may include ranged weapons. That is part of the reason why this is taking longer, because introducing ranged weapons into any situation like this makes it more complicated. So the multiplayer rules are kind of, that is to be considered in that area. Some people talk about the bow and the ranged weapon. It doesn't exist in the dungeon because it's a closed space and you can't really get your bow out and fire with monsters running at you so much without then having to draw your weapon. We've had this discussion before. So, for example, a whipboard bow would not fit in with the theme. You give your fabled weapon a name, and then you can obviously you'll add that onto the weapon sheet. Now, this new weapon has no inbuilt maneuvers as such. So, instead, you must spend time with the smithy in his hall, learning how it is balanced, and in turn, they will then forge the weapon so it's personalised to you. Okay, so the weaponsmith's hall isn't just about, it's about learning about the weapon and being there as it's crafted. If you see, I'll call mine Sid. I should hope so. And so this affords you kind of like the complete experience. And but there are certain things that can enhance the weapon and your connection with it. So imbue it with magic, facilitating particular movements and magical effects. Okay. Once you create a maneuver, it goes into your maneuver pool that is recorded on your fabled weapon sheet. This is now the selection you choose from rather than the ones in the table's codex. So you know, in the table's codex at the beginning you have a selection of maneuvers, the densest table in the book. Okay, and you would pick a new one as you went up a level. That's not going to be the case anymore. Now, with the legendary weapon, you create... Hey Jim, good to see you, my friend. You create a series of maneuvers. Now, each one is... well, we'll have a look at those in a sec. So you construct the weaponsmith's hall. You need a blacksmith's. All the maneuvers, apart from 2, require some kind of special, and that's going to change as well because they do all need some kind of resource now. You then decide on the legendary maneuver you want to learn. You refer to the legendary maneuvers table, which we're going to have a look at in a sec. It takes up until the end of the turn to create. So you're creating this maneuver. Right, let's have a look here. So you have a series of maneuvers here. So they don't all quite fit in there. There's some bigger ones down here. Okay, so for example, to create a the inconceivable swipe or the outrageous heft. Let's go with the outrageous heft here. Okay, you would need to create that. You would need a level 3 weaponsmith's hall. Okay, as you can see here. No, it's Brian. That's a good. Hey, how you doing? So, I explained that D6. I know it looks a bit silly, but what it actually is it's added to this separate number here. So, the outrageous heft is 3d6 damage plus 8 plus d6. So if you roll a 4, it'll be plus 12. So 3d6 plus 12. Okay, and what that does is it adds a little variance to a sort of unpredictable nature to that particular movement. So it might not be as good as you want it to be, but it could be. It might not be. And it says once you've rolled it on the casting, that stays. So it'd be 3d6 plus 12 if you roll a 4, outrageous heft. To build that, to make that, you need a weaponsmith's hall level 3. Okay, so you'd have to be able to build it when buildings are upgraded. So to do that, so for example here, this is the weaponsmith's hall. Then you can see that you can upgrade that to level 3, but it costs you gold. So you need 125 gold to upgrade it to level 3 and just improve it. and it's all coming on. I will talk about the UK Games Expo. Kirill, don't worry about that. I'm in the middle of the flow at the moment, but I will come back to that. Got it. Could you maybe add parentheses? That is not a bad idea. I'll make a note of that and see how that looks. That is a good. I'm not a mathematician, so that is a good observation. Thank you. That is a good. That is a good point. Thank you. I kind of added those last minute anyway when I was looking at it. So, but you also you require certain resources as well as the Weaponsmith's Hall at that level. So if we're going with the Outrageous Heft again, you also need a level 3 Coal Keeper's Lodge and a level 1 Romana Steel Smelter, a Fetlow Stone plus magnesium and nickel. Now these are items that you'll gather as you explore. So it's like a shopping list, if you like, of stuff that you need to try and find within the world. So they are seeded in amongst the tables, which I've been working hard to try and make sure there's enough in there. And the testers will be able to tell me whether this is possible. So you build your Weaponsmith's Hall, you build your quarry, your manifold granite quarry or your Coal Keeper's Lodge, and once you've built those, they provide for the construction of, say, a legendary weapon like your Fabled sword. And these are legendary maneuvers. So, second the parentheses, yes. But the final results is the same. No. So if you build your legendary weapon and roll a 1 when establishing the extra damage, would you then work to build another legendary weapon for a chance to get a better bonus on that new weapon? Well, that is a really good question. So once it's set, that is it. You can't do the same. You can't do the same maneuver on a weapon. So let's have a quick look at the table. So that's your weapons. Let me just bring up the Fabled sheet. So on the sheet here, you have your maneuver pools. You can do 6 maneuvers on the left hand side. You pick the dice set, and then you write in your modifier here. Okay, you get to pick from these. You can swap out your maneuvers at the end of each level. This is the pool you draw from, like the table in the book, and then it gets written onto your character sheet, the other part of your character sheet. So you can have up to 6. Okay, so that is your Fabled weapon. I mean, I don't suppose that there would be any problem if you wanted to start another weapon, but the thing is, right, with the amount of resources that it takes to actually do that, you may find it's just too much. It could be too much. Bubba, can you break down the legendary weapon if you no longer want it for resources? I think Joe's maneuver would be a permanent action. That'd be something like 3d6 plus 8 if the d6 rolled. Yes. So with the damage again, so 3d6 is the roll. Then you plus the 8 for Outrageous Heft and plus the d6. So if you rolled, when you were forging that particular maneuver, when you're creating that maneuver and you're writing it onto your maneuvers pool on your Fabled weapon sheet, that would say if you rolled as you were forging it, you rolled a 2. Okay, now that 2 would be added to the 8 on the Outrageous Heft, so it'd be 3d6 plus 10, if you see what I mean. And there's nothing more you could do about that. You can't change it. That's just what it was like in that moment of forging. Nothing you can do. Can you break down the weapon for resources? Well, that's not something I've really even considered, to be honest, Bubba. I don't know whether that is going to work, because this weapon is suited to you. You could probably sell it. We could probably set some kind of fee or charge. You probably get quite a bit of money for it, but it's tailored to your movements, your body, so it may well be very difficult. Bubba, you have to ask Mark Harrison if he's okay with you breaking apart Sid. I see. So you would add another maneuver and you'd roll to see what kind of extra damage that new maneuver would do. Yes. So you're creating maneuvers to go in your maneuver pool, which are connected to your Fabled weapon. Okay, so the Fabled weapon is just your weapon, and you here. But you pick 3 to put on your character sheet from your pool. So you could, in a sense, go into a legendary dungeon with just 3 maneuvers in your maneuvers pool. And that could be it. But they may not be as good as they could be. Yeah. So you can swap some. And there's also another thing coming up as well, which we're going to talk about. Extra impacts, which we're going to talk about in a sec. No, Brett, you're not being dense. These things, when they pop up, the thing is, right, in the rules, I really will probably include an example which will make it clear as well. It could be unbreakable weapons. It might be... breaking it down for resources... I mean, if you've got a Romana steel smelter or mine, you know, you've got tons of resources anyway. Yeah. So, right, so that's your main... So you're building a pool of maneuvers for your weapon. Okay. But that isn't just the case. So there's also a thing called extra impacts. All right. So extra impacts are forged in the same way, but extra impacts add to your weapon, to your maneuver slots. So they go into the actual modifiers, get added to your modifier section on your character sheet, and each maneuver slot can have 2 extra impacts. So you record your impacts, and then they are written onto your character sheet. Now, that's a little bit difficult to explain here, but they are all also something that you learn and you put onto the pool in your sheet here on the extra impact section here. Okay, so you can add in extra impacts. Now those are they're lower key, so they're not the same. It's like +3 damage or +5 HP, so you can heal yourself when you're hit. But you can also do things like, you can cause things like avoided, probably is avoided a word? I can't remember. You can get things like heat damage or flame damage or stuff like that. Modifiers. You can favor points. You can do minus shift or plus shift. These little things. They're just little additions. Questing to build a badass armor and weapons. Exciting to see it printed up in my hands. Status effects. Yeah. They're like extra little things you can add to your weapon to make it a bit more sort of unique and interesting. So those are covered in the advanced combat rules. So there are some advanced combat rules in this book, largely just to show you what's going to happen when you get your Fabled weapon, when you finish it, and you're able to use it in the legendary dungeon. It's all kind of, it's like a goal to create this kind of looking this amazing legendary well-equipped warrior that's going to save the world. You can also add runes to the legendary weapon, yes. Normal rune application. Normal runes can be applied to the Fabled weapon, so they can become really powerful, which could be really handy, because some of the creatures you're going to be facing in the legendary dungeon in the future are going to be pretty badass. Okay, so that's like the 2 main aspects. So you're going to be creating a maneuvers pool based upon your fabled weapon, and then you're going to have these extra little impacts which you write onto your character sheet in the dice set box. You to add a little plus in there, or a little heat symbol, or a little, and there are different aspects that can be put in. It's all kind of described in the advanced rules section, but you don't have to really worry too much about the application at the moment. Yes. So 10 runes can be added to your favorite weapon. It can become a massively powerful weapon. But, of course, finding 10 runes is no easy feat in 2d6 Dungeon. Okay? It is definitely a beast mode weapon. We're going to have... It's going to be great to be able to see once this goes out. Hopefully, Jeff, most of it is done now. I just need to finish off a few little tables. I'm going to try and send it out tomorrow, so we'll see. And then we're going to enter like a 2-week period of testing on those rules. While I flesh out some other details and finish off some stuff. Hey Matt, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. So Brian, I'm going to play with my middle school D&D rules. Walk into a cave, immediately find a +3 longsword from a rat. Oh yes, the joy of finding plus weapons, +1, +2, +3 weapons in D&D. Ah, the memories. Will you need to make a 2d6 realms calculator to figure out the damage, the bonus damage for all the weapons? Well, hopefully you can just write. It will all be summarised on your character sheet. So fingers crossed, it will all just be there. Be able to read it. We're dealing with lots of damage here. It's going to be exciting. We're going OP on these creatures. We're going to have some vicious legendary monsters that you have to fight. You're going to need something awesome. Yeah. No, good to have you here, Matt. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be a little bit of calculating, but it's all pretty basic stuff. It's just making sure you've got your bits and pieces to make your special weapon. Right, so let's have a look at the armor. So the mythical armor is a slightly different process. So you have to purchase the armor. Okay, so you can work on 3 bits of armor. You have to purchase them in the first instance, and they're separate from your main adventurer's armor. Okay, because while your sword and armor is being worked on, you can't take it out and use it on your adventures or exploring. So this needs to be kept with your armorer, and he's going to spend some time with it, some TLC, and he's going to turn it into something special. As long as you can provide the right resources, it's going to come up with something very, very interesting. Vicious monsters aren't an issue if you've got a Sid. Hey, Bubba. Yeah. Can you avoid the... Can you... Yes, Bubba. Yes, you can. You won't be encountering the really vicious monsters until the legendary dungeon. So 2d6 Realm does not have the legendary monsters in it. They're in 2d6 legendary dungeon. So that is in the future. What we're doing is we're kind of just building to that point where your character is ready for having to head out and deal with this incursion. So what happens to your armor weapon if you die? Stars, good question. It just gets lost and becomes stuff of legends. Okay, so people will talk about that amazing suit of armor that disappeared into nowhere. So it'll be almost like creating a legend itself, a kind of a myth. Stars, let us know so we can do a quest to loot your body. Very good. I like that. Once an enhancement has been... Oh, right. Okay, here we go. You can work on up to 3 different pieces of armor at any one time. These pieces of armor are special and can only be worn by legends. Let's get that right. So it's kind of like this is like it's a bit like an investment in a really nice piece of kit. So each piece of armor can have 3 enhancements. These are the enhancements. Once an enhancement has been added, it cannot be removed. Some enhancements have special effect modifiers, which have a special effect, which is a separate element here. So special effect modifiers for mythical armor table down the bottom here. You can see it there. So you basically, if we go back to the table here, you can see on the mythical armor, you got armor piece, and there's 3 armor pieces. I've tried to keep it simple as I can. And then you put the enhancement here and then the modifier over here. And you can see some modifiers. And this helps affect, this obviously, so reduces the amount of damage you take. But it also can add other effects. So let me just bring that down. Oh, that's not good. There we go. And so we've got... there we go. So we have got here. So riveted tassets, -3 damage and crush. And you go down to crush. Crush causes the amount of damage equal to the level of the manifold granite that was used to make it. Okay, so you can see here if we go back up to crush. Crush level 2. So if you had a level 3, it would do 3 extra damage. Okay, so it's kind of like you've almost got these special studs on it, and you can crush it in as you block, and creates this effect. But of course, to be able to add riveted tassets to your armor, you need to have a level 3 armorer's workshop, a level 2 manifold granite quarry. These are buildings, incidentally. They're buildings in your realm that you have to be able to construct. A fetlow stone, Ravesian glass, and manganese. Okay, so you will find these elements, as I was talking about before, within the landscape, and you'll build them up, and then you can buy your armor. You don't have to do the best armor. You can buy cheaper armor that you might want to use. I don't know why you want to do that, but that may be all you can get your hands on at the time. So, and there's a whole bunch, and it goes all the way down. There's magical aura, -12 damage, +4 HP. So you can heal yourself as well as cause damage. And there's other rebound, half the damage done is reflected back to the enemy. So there's some pretty powerful kind of magical modifiers that you can put into your armor. And that would be recorded on that sheet. Kirill says, what if your adventurer can find an ancient skeleton, some fallen hero that recovered their ancient armor? Then recover their ancient armor. Taking this armor to an armor can be used to craft your legendary armor. Well, the reality of it is, okay, I know that we have this situation where with D&D, you could just take anything and use anything. Most armor's fitted, especially anything that's plate, or so wearing someone else's armor is a very difficult thing to do in the first place. Armor doesn't necessarily weather well over time, so it kind of becomes degraded, and the metal becomes poorer. And so I've kind of had it. I've kind of written it so you find an old skeleton with armor, and you can't really take his armor and use it because it's just a bit naff, basically. Even if it is really nice, it just won't fit you, and it kind of... So I kind of take that approach to a few things in the game, like just picking up someone's weapon and using it. You're never going to be as efficient with that weapon. It won't be balanced, it might be smaller, it takes time to get to know these things, you know. So no. If there was something you could take, you could sell it for some gold, maybe. The rule in the game is you don't take your opponent's armor for these very reasons I've been talking about. But sometimes in encounters, you'll find that there is a piece of armor that I've said, roll for this armor, or you might find a helmet. You can take that helmet, and then you can basically, you know, you can basically use it how you like. I'm new to this dungeon and only level 2. Kirill, well, welcome in. This is the raw. You're at the coal face. Something to work towards for sure. Great end game motivator. I hope so, Bubba. I hope so. We'll see how this works. Again, this is about me trying to imbue the game with purpose. If people want, I want people to be in it and think, right, I've got that to aim for. I've got this quest to do. I want to build up my realm. I want to gain a title. I want to kind of find more treasure and build more buildings, expand my realm and see. And ultimately, where's that going to take me? What can I do? Well, you can become a lord. You can gain benefits. You can't wage war, but you can build yourself a tank, if you like, your armor and your weapon, and then you can go and you can you will be able to take on these legendary this legendary dungeon. It's kind of like you become, you know, not superhuman but super powerful, and that's kind of, and it's like this progression. So the progression is such that you start off as a level 1 character, and ultimately you're going to work up. You kind of you live in the town, you explore the dungeon, you get your own homestead eventually when you want to, and you then explore the land, expand your realm, build your armor, and you create your weapon, and then you're on to the next stage, which will come when I do the legendary dungeon. So, Brian says, sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the updates as well as I should. Do we have some end game critters in 2d6 realm outside those mentioned in the list of characters in 2d6 dungeon? Yes, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. We do have some. The thing about the creatures in 2d6 realm is they're very much of the land. So it's brigands, blood knives, land spirits, heath wolves, heath wolves. What have we got? Other stuff. Some stuff from the lairs is drawn into it because the lairs it felt appropriate for me to take some of the creatures from there. You got things like burrow, slouse, stuff like that. Don, good to see you. Welcome in. What else have we got? And some more powerful creatures that are around. I'm about 70% done on the creature cards for those. And oh, I see, Brian. Yes. Well, yes. The thing is, it seems I'm looking at the magical or legendary armor modification, wondering what would be a threat in 2d6 dungeon after wearing something like that. Well, this is just one element of your armor, my friend. But if you encounter something big, and I haven't created any of the legendary creatures yet, but they'll all be tailored for you to be able to fight them and still lose, So they're not going to be all pushover creatures. With the legendary dungeon, the monsters are going to be fewer and far more dangerous. So it's going to be like krakens and I don't know, demigods and I'm not going to go like D&D main demon type stuff necessarily, or devils or anything that kind of relates to has a kind of biblical connotation. But I'm going to we're going to have really big, powerful creatures, or elite warriors that you have to face, corrupted gladiators or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Brett says, it seems much like 5 Leagues from Borderlands. This could be played out with miniatures on a table with terrain. It could be. I mean, I am very interested in skirmish games. This for me isn't the skirmish game. I have a skirmish game in me, and you never know. You might see that appearing soon. We're going to get this project done, but I want to do a game between 2d6 Realm and 2d6 Legendary Dungeon. I want to do a game that doesn't involve as much writing as this does, because this is like the equivalent to writing a book. So I want to do a game that's quicker, shorter, and that might well be a skirmish game. So we will just have to see. I'm not going to talk too much about it now, but I've got some things planned. I'd love to see an epic battle with a legendary hero against a legendary monster. Brian, you will. That will come. So scariest environment imaginable. That's all you had to say. Yeah. Like updates on a Radzone. Well, it's not going to be a Radzone product. It's going to be a completely different product. Okay. So as a you've got to understand, as a games designer and a company, it's quite nice to have different products. Just to give my brain a break from one world, but also create something that's different for other people that might want to come and get involved with DR games and see the sorts of things we do. And they may be interested in skirmish games. I'm interested in skirmish games. This is more the point rather than what they're. But I'm thinking it's nice to be able to provide stuff like that, if you see what I'm saying. Any possibilities for class and race bonuses or skills that have extra d6 for precise strike by an assassin or a lockpick bonus? Well, Andrew, as it happens, we do have ancestries with the new rules. So with 2d6 Realm, there are 3 or 4 new ancestries. You can pick one of those, and they have traits that kind of have come about through their circumstances. So there is going to be some variance like that. As far as class goes, it's not something that is really too much. Let me just turn something. It's not really something I'm too much concerned about at the moment. It's definitely something that maybe we do an expansion for in the future. Or there's some free content put online by somebody, or someone's write something for it. There is a third-party license. I've always had an opinion that with this, the adventurer is pretty much you can sculpt the adventurer into what you like. Really, you can call them a ranger, you can call them a rogue, and as the game becomes more detailed, there are more opportunities for you to take a rogue-like approach, or sort of a holy avenger, or a paladin, or something along those lines, and you can create it that way. All right, meeting started and I have to head out. Thanks, Toby and all. Brian, thank you for being here, my friend. Good questions. And Brett, so start saving money, more money, got it. Brett, well, you might see the way that I do things. I often give stuff out for free, so we may well have like a free set, basic set for the skirmish game, and then maybe when we kickstart it, there'll be some other stuff coming. Yeah, diversity makes the world turn. Got me hooked in the world. Thank you, Jason. Jason's also done some third-party content that people can check out. I'm loving everything. Oh, Brett, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. James, hi. I know I missed a bunch of this, but I can try to watch it after the stream ends. Yes, James, you can. definitely worth it. We've been running for over an hour now, but good to have you in there, my friend. Clive, 100% with Brett. Thank you, Clive. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I'm also really excited about how this is coming on. I mean, you've got to imagine working from home. I have a nice office, and so I spend a good amount of time working on 2D6 Realm, hours and hours and hours, but then around that I do other little bits and pieces that kind of keep me amused. It may actually be a little bit of painting. I've been doing some painting on some of my figures. Does anybody want to see one of my paint jobs? I can get that out if you want to. We're not really here for that, but I can get it if you want to see it. And but then also work on other little games like Intergalactic Space Trader, which I've been doing some work on. I'm going to send you an email, Jeff, and let's get that. So IST, I have been doing some. Let's have a look. See what light we have here. Oh. I don't know how well you can see that there. Blood Bowl. So I finally put them together. You can't really see it very well. Is it focus? Can't really see it. The camera's not very good on this one. Yeah, I've enjoyed doing these. Mind you, I haven't done any for a few weeks now. But yeah, really, it was actually really nice. So I'm gonna get a few more paints and work on those in my free time. But which is very rarely. But yeah, so you have to. I think when you have to manage your own business, you have to give yourself kind of space in your mind away from certain projects. So we're doing Intergalactic Space Trader. And then we've got the skirmish game, which I'll talk more about another time. So Mark says, I was going to ask if you had made those Blood Bowl figures up. Well, I actually haven't made up the humans. I've done the Black Orcs. Although I've given them a bit of a green look. They probably need to be a bit blacker than that. But I thought they were quite cool like that. And I've started work on the goblins that come in that pack. And I did play with the Black Orcs in one game, which was a lot of fun. I just don't get to. There's no group around me to play this stuff, unfortunately. I think there's one Warhammer group, but they're all like 20, 30, and I'm a bit older than that. So I feel like I'm just sort of pushing in on a young group. I don't know. I just want kind of other old sods like me to play with rather than necessarily too young. I've never been against playing with young folk. I mean, I used to run groups of 10, DM groups of 10 at the last school I was working at when I used to do the board game club. Need to do what for colours? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well done, Jeff. Spotted that. Nothing some black ink won't fix for the Black Orc. Exactly, Bubba. Yeah, I might put a bit more black ink on there. I found wraiths problematic to construct. I tell you what, these figures, they're not easy. They're not easy to construct. They definitely are. They're trickier than you think. So, yeah, really. So that is basically for the armor, for the weapon and armor. That's basically what we wanted to have a look at today. What I wanted to show you today, just the fact that you're gathering stuff, you're building stuff up, and you have a goal here, along with everything else that is going to be in the game. So yeah, I reckon that is going to be hopefully dropped tomorrow, Jeff. Nick, you watch this back if you're there. And the other guys on there. Bubba, I think you're on the list as well. I'm going to send it to you. Johnny, didn't see you there. Good to see you, Johnny. You had a little nice written in there. If I missed your other messages, if I've missed any messages, I do apologise. So yeah, fantastic. And Jeff, I'm going to be doing an update for IST as well. Aside from the stuff we've been working on, Jeff, I'm gonna add in 2 more traits. I'm gonna add in 2 more traits for the port officials, and I'm gonna add in 2 more events on each of the events pages for the planets, and each of those is going to have a minus effect on some trade goods, so we can get some minuses rather than lots of pluses. This has just come back from our explorations of planets. I got your email, so I'm going to do some more stuff on that as well. Once I've dropped this with the testers, I'm going to get back onto that as well. So, I appreciate all your work there, Jeff. Clive says, my favourite little skirmish game is official D&D product that's abandoned. Dungeon Command. Hard to find copies. I bought it for the pre-painted D&D minis as a DM. Turns out the game is good. Bloody hell. Dungeon Command. Never heard of that one. Wow. Johnny says, no, I came in late. That's okay then. Johnny O. Is that Johnny? Was the O always on there? It looks like a little mouth. So Jeff, I will bang those out to you in a couple of days, so you'll be able to see. Stefan, hi. I guess I'm joining a bit late. You are a bit, Stefan, I'm afraid. Never heard of that either. Mark says, Dungeon Command. Anybody else heard of that in the chat? Has Clive had some kind of fever dream where he was playing some unknown Dungeon Command game? Yeah, I love the history of roleplay and Games Workshop, the original Games Workshop, all that. So I was raised on Games Workshop games, Dark Future, Blood Bowl, Hero Quest, all that stuff. Some people who know me know that that's the case. That's kind of in my blood. This is why I have so many unplayed games on my shelf. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get a sense, Clive, that you've probably got a massive mountain stack of games in your mountain hideaway, I'd imagine. Yeah, it is. There just was there was a fervour, a kind of excitement it swept you along. Back in the kind of the mid-80s, it was just fantastic. I'm kind of the only one with unplayed games on my shelf. Oh my god. Yeah, me too. I know I have. Some people like to collect games just to read the rules, which is true. I mean, I'm pretty sad. I'm pretty sad. I like the Star Trek TCG or CCG, the Star Trek collectible card game from the 90s. So I really liked a lot of those card games, and I collect those. But there was some guy selling someone. I looked at what else he was selling, and he was selling the Star Trek role-playing game rule books. And I've never played the Star Trek role-playing game. It was probably slightly earlier. It's this one here. I've got a beaten up old version of it. Okay, and this isn't a Games Workshop one. This is this? Oh no, it is a Games Workshop one. Yeah, it is Games Workshop, and they had the books in these beautiful manuals, right, based around the first Star Trek role-playing game. Never played it. I saw it and I thought, I'm going to have a look at that. Just to have a look at the rule book. And it is absolutely fascinating. I've been reading through some of it and just love it. I mean, it's really intense and really weird. And it's sort of quite far removed from what we would do today. But fascinating. David said, the good days of Games Workshop. I remember those. You ran a store. Well, my God, David, you must have surely a whole bunch of stuff from that store. Really, you must have a really good collection of Games Workshop games. I collected them with intention to play them. And get more and more, and never actually end up playing hardly any instead. Yes. Johnny says, me too, Mark. I'm the same. Mark says, I've got them, Toby. I'm a big Star Trek fan. All the series is. I love Next Generation. And I love the Star Trek films as well. Wrath of Khan is one of my favourite films. I think it's fantastic. And I listen to the soundtrack, actually, for Wrath of Khan as background music, often to writing some of these tables that we're all playing. So subconsciously, you've got the Wrath of Khan music inspiring the tables that you then go and play in 2D6 Realm. I have a deck of Federation cards that I bought at a gaming convention here in Canada. Jim. Yeah, I've got thousands of Star Trek CCG cards. I played the game with my brother, and he's got a decent collection of the original. And then we played it a few times recently, but he blows hot and cold with these things, and he gets a bit tired, and he's not so keen on playing games. And I just want to play games with people. Although I do like to sit down and watch TV for an hour or two in the evening sometimes, rather than play games. Same here. When I buy games, I want to play them. I just don't always get around to doing so. At least not properly. Yeah. At least not promptly. Bubba, I did in Canada as well. Ran a Games Workshop store. What? Hang on here. Hang on. Is this like have we got like a convention of Games Workshop managers meeting up in my stream here? This is really weird. So hang on a minute. In Calgary, question mark, Bubba. David says, talking about his games, Bubba says West Vancouver and Richmond. Wow. Hang on a minute. I did, David said, but sold them all when we moved. I kept a select few games, but the rest of the RPG books, box games I sold was around 1,500 items. Oh my God. The irony is now, a lot of that stuff is so valuable. Some of that early Games Workshop stuff, I mean, when I say so valuable, I mean like hundreds of pounds, right? Not thousands, but it's kind of rare and precious in my mind. Next time you have a bad encounter in 2D6 Realm, you will yell out, Khan! Jeff, I love it. There's a Star Trek reskin of the original Mage Knight game that keeps catching my attention. Ooh. That is interesting. I'll have to have a look at that. I didn't run against... Oh, hang on a minute. Mark, hang on. Mark, David did... Bubba, did you run a... Hang on. Bubba, did you run a Games Workshop store? David did as well, but Mark didn't. Managers made the equivalent of a fry cook piss poor pay. Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't. I ran on back in the 80s. Oh, I don't. Yes. Wow. Okay. So Bubba and David are deeply rooted in the craft of gaming. Fantastic. So Bubba, you must then know all the rules, all the old rules for Warhammer, especially 40k. Because was Fantasy still going? Or are we just old? I don't want to feel outnumbered, Toby. Yeah, no, I never ran a Games Workshop store, so no, I never did that. I've been in a fair few. Old. Yeah, Bubba. Fantastic. That's great. So, Bubba, do you still have a miniature collection then? I guess David, you probably have a miniature collection as well still. I have forgotten more than I remember. I kept the Dan Dabnett books for sure. The novels, right? Abnett, Dan Abnett. I had to sell it off. It was massive. Fantastic. They're called Warhammer now. At least the one in Northampton is. Mark, you're not wrong. Yeah. I saw that and I thought it was a bit of a shame. It was a shame. It's all about selling their own products, isn't it? You know, and the Warhammer world is all encompassing, and they're just releasing the old world, aren't they? Which looks like there's a lot of re-releases of older stock, and with some rule changes. And I kind of had wanted to pick it up and play it. It's one of those things I want to pick it up, play it, but no. It's like I bought the Call of Cthulhu rule book last Christmas, and I thought, I might give this a go. No. Sad. I think part of the problem that I have is in this area where I live, there doesn't seem to be any sort of. There probably are gamers out there. There's no central hub for older gamers. I don't know whether there generally is in a town, but I think because we rent this place, I'll probably when we buy a house, I'll probably make more of an effort in an area that I move to, because I got the feeling we're going to move from here in a year or two. So I'm a bit hesitant about putting any more roots down, because I just think they'll just all be gone, and so I'm kind of just treading water for the moment. Tanis says, I used to frequent Games Workshop in Sheffield before the days of Warhammer. It was a proper game store then. Gamma World, Boot Hill, etc. Yes, there used to be other types of games and stuff in Games Workshop. I mean, we had one in St Albans where I grew up, and fantastic. And then when we lived up in St Helens, I used to go to the one in Liverpool quite a bit. And then but I would pick up a lot of games and stuff in stores like Beatty's in Watford. Just toy stores would have still quite a collection of Avalon Hill games and the old World War games and stuff like that, with the chits and stuff like that, and that whole thing. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Tanis. David, Mo Minis here all gone. My Minis here all gone. Back when I was a manager, we sold way more than just Games Workshop. Exactly, David. This is my point. So I kind of look at a Warhammer shop. I know what's going to be in there. Now, interestingly, I do love Blood Bowl, and I like the new rules of Blood Bowl. I think they're good, and they just released a gnome team, which I'm quite keen to get. So they do offer something, and there are certain games like Kill Team that I would like to get my hands on, but you just can't buy it for love or money. It's like a big scam. So there's stuff there that I would buy into, and I feel like Games Workers got so big that there are little branches off of interesting stuff. Whereas I'm not so interested in the main 40k, but more kind of like the sideline stuff. That they Hero Quest and stuff like that they support. Is that Hero Quest on? I don't think it is anymore, is it? I love this comment here, Bubba. This kid asked me if GW stood for Goofy Weirdos. I love it. Oh, Mark says, I remember White Dwarf when it actually added stuff for non-Games Workshop games like Rune Quest and Call of Cthulhu long ago. Oh, yeah, baby. I love that stuff. Let me just get... stuff like this. These old White Dwarf. Oh my god. This was what I lived for, getting these. And this has got actually a lot of epic stuff in this. But there used to be other stuff in these. Like here's a bit about Talisman. Oh god, I love Talisman. Such a great entry level game. I just actually quite like looking at the figures listings at the back. That was fantastic. All those there. There's a couple. I've got like a whole set. When we moved to Australia 7 years ago and then came back, before when we moved, I got rid of probably about 200 White Dwarf magazines, and I regret it so much. Oh, and Dragon. We had, yeah. Well, you know, Dragon was big over here as well. So, you know, like Dragon magazines and, you know, all that stuff. Love it. Because I used to run D&D, and then I ran Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and all the role. I used to D&D DM stuff for a group of about, there was up to 8 kids and lads, mates that we used to do stuff with. So let me just side games have always been more interesting, like Mordenheim. Exactly, I totally agree. I mean, I love. I've got my original Dark Future box set, which I just absolutely adored that game. I was big into Mad Max and that post-apocalyptic setting, as you guys know from Rad Zone, which comes from all of that. Rad Zone comes from that part of me. And Dragon magazine, I just absolutely love Dragon magazine because I was really into things like the Marvel superhero role-playing game. I ran a big campaign of that with my friends. I loved it. Do you have the one with the bolt thrower, 7-inch? Bubba. Tanis says, still got issues 5 to 100 of White Dwarf. Excellent magazine then. Anyone remember Tortured Souls magazine? The 7-inch record. The Tortured Souls magazine. I don't remember that one. No, I don't remember them. Right time to be off here. First stream I've joined. Thanks for the insight and conversations all night. David, thank you for being here, my friend. We're going to wrap up here in a minute anyway. So, no, you've done nicely. I had Dragon magazine too. Mark says, Car Wars. Yes, well, mine was Dark Future. I've got my original Dark Future too, Toby. Mark, fantastic. Steve Jackson Games ruled. Lars, Jeff, yeah. Because we had a different Steve Jackson over here. You've got your own Steve Jackson. It was an indie publication, about 10 issues. Had all sorts of dungeons and different systems. Fantastic. There was definitely a vibe for that wasn't there back then? Kind of the indie publisher. You could there was a certain competing. You could lay some stuff down and people would take it seriously, whereas now there's a kind of saturation. So 40k, one page rules is doing well, 40k, but then bolt action. These are things I don't really know a lot about the field. I mean, I've played Flames of War. I've obviously played 40k. I've played Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I've played many more RPGs though. Yes, Clive says Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone is the combo I approve. Definitely, Clive. Haha. Bubba says, yeah, Steve Jackson and Steve Jackson did actually meet, and I think that there's been a few. There's I've seen an interview with Steve Jackson, my Steve Jackson, and he's obviously he made a comment about how fun it was, and they did actually work together. I think Steve Jackson and Steve Jackson. That must have been confusing. Back in the early 80s, D&D was fun. Nothing complicated, just hit stuff and loot it and get a magic weapon. Yeah. It was fun. It was fun. I think we were young, weren't we? We were young. I think when kids are young these days, they have fun doing stuff. It's just how it is. Throw in a little Joe Dever and you're sorted. Yeah. The Lone Wolf books, fantastic. And let's not forget Gary Chalk as well. He really did. He completed that. The image, the artwork of Gary Chalk, iconic. Absolutely love it. So I grew up on that. Fighting Fantasy, brilliant. For the old school D&D feel, check out Dragonbane. I haven't played it yet, but it looks good. You don't have superhero characters, less crunch, and more roleplay. Yeah, I've had a look at Dragonbane, and it looks like an interesting one. Again, another system that I'd like to play, but I just haven't been able to do that. Yeah, I've seen that banded around quite a bit. Dragonbane, it does look brilliant. So I mean, it's one of these things. I'm always interested in systems which move away as much as they can from D&D as well. So ones that kind of just kind of like copy the stats, for example. I've always is that just not D&D again? Don't feel like it. So there was the Grim Dark one recently. What's it called? That uses the same stats. It's just like a D&D clone, but simpler and grimmer. I can't remember what it's called now. It's probably because I'm a bit tired. Finding the time is key. Yeah. My D&D group, I ran the Knave OSR rule set, which is simpler, old school, and a lot more death. Haha, yeah. Mort Borg, Ditsy, yeah. Now I've written for Mort Borg. So I did a bestiary for my friend Quinton. I used to have a little nice mag called the Dungeoneer. Yes, I know the Dungeoneer. Mort Borg, Knave, yep. They're all interesting. They've kind of caught on, haven't they? There's been like a little wave of Mort Borg, Knave, OSR type products. What else is there? It kind of fits into that bracket. It's been a little resurgence of OSR, and I think that's because it's been ironed out. There was a lot of misconceptions about OSR, potentially, in recent time, that it's a bit kind of sexist and old and kind of old fashioned and unnecessary and a bit misogynist. But actually, those have been ironed out, and now we come out with some nicer kind of just grittier works that have been really successful, and that's fantastic. Boy, old school essentials, of course. So yeah, they're really, really fantastic. Right, guys, it's 11:30 p.m. here. 11:35. So I'm going to call it a day there. Fantastic chat. D&D is actually how I found DR Games, via DR Maps. Ah, yes. Dark Realm Maps. Yeah, Clive, you've been around for a while. I like that. Yeah, I do actually have a little. I do one map commission a year at the moment. Apart from the maps from my own products, I'm doing a map. I've just been sent the commission stuff. I'm doing a map for Midnight Tower and their coming adventure. I do one for them each year, or a couple, maybe two. Yeah. It's been a great evening. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. Great reminiscing as well. It's nice to reminisce about stuff. Sid says night 2. Put your weapon away. I've been following since Dark Force Incursion. James, you've been around for a while as well. Dark Force Incursion was the launch game for this company. So thanks, Johnny. You can hear my voice is going a little bit. Yeah. Fantastic. Sleepy time for you, indeed, Jim. Indeed. I'm going to go upstairs and see my wife's probably reading in bed. Good night, Jeff. I'll email you with the stuff. Well, I'm going to be sending out some emails. The 2d6 realm to the testers, and then Jeff, I'm going to email you separately, my friend. Get your nighttime scarf. Oh God, tell me about it. I do wear something around my neck at night sometimes, keep it warm. I will, guys. You in America and Canada, have a good day. And what time is it over there? It's probably about 3, is it? Something like that. And yeah, now I will. I'll catch up with you soon. And thanks again. Been fantastic. Great to talk rules. Great to chat. Great just to be together. So guys, thank you, and I'll catch up with you very soon.